Hey everyone, today is Friday. It is October 7th. Today is the day we put up solar panels. Yesterday we had planned on doing it, but it was far too rainy and cold. Today, as you can see, is blindingly sunny and gorgeous. So here is the setup that I'm thinking for laying out the solar panels. So I'm on the roof right now. There are the boxes for the panels. I'm just seeing how they would fit based on where the cords are gonna come out, and that's what I have so far, and I'll get more videos as we attach them to the roof. Alright, so we lost a little bit of light, but not too bad. We flipped the solar panels over once we got them in where we wanted them to be, and we put the brackets on the bottom. This is what they look like this. Now we're going to look at the schematic for our Windy Nation 400 watt solar power kit and see how they recommend we connect them before running them down over the front of Tina and into our battery bank, and I'll update you from there. Alright, solar panels day 2. It is October 8th. It is Saturday. Yesterday we found out we didn't have screws that were wide enough on the head to keep the panels actually screwed down. Here's a close-up of the brackets. So what we did was we put a little caulking down under each bracket. You can see all these brackets up here. Then we set it down, and then we screwed it down in and put caulking over the screw as well. So I take drilling into my roof pretty seriously. I don't want any leaks. This is a very old roof to begin with, and so I did that for all of 4 panels. Then we hooked it up. This is our Windy Nation 400 watt solar panel kit. It comes with a link to a PDF on it that shows you how to hook up every single piece to it. I'm walking very carefully across the roof because it's old. We ran our cabling down all the way to the ground, and then we're gonna finish building our battery box at the bottom. We have 4 batteries, and we had to go to Home Depot and get our plywood recut because we overestimated the height of our box. All right, we'll get back to you when I'm on the ground. So here we are on a beautiful, shiny day. Gorgeous. I think I finally got the solar all figured out, and the battery box, and the inverter, and the converter. So I'm going to do a quick run through of everything with you. First of all, I'm on the roof. Here's the solar panels all hooked up. You can see all of the connections in the middle, and then the cords run down along the front of the RV. We put these little hooks in and caulked those down so that the cords can just stay organized and not fly all over the place. And then, as you can see, there's it's rained recently, so there's a little bit of residue on the solar panels, but that looks fine. We also put the cover on our AC unit because it's going to start getting cold, and guess what we're not using? The AC unit. Alright, now I'm going to go on the ground and show you the battery box. Here we are on the ground. It's a windy day. I'm going to show you the battery box. I'm going to talk about the things we did to install it, starting with cables coming down off the solar. So here's our cabling coming down off the solar. It runs down to the ground. It goes underneath our battery box. Here's the battery box I built that you might have seen in a previous video. And the cords go under here. I marked the positive wire with tape. So there's clear markings on here where the solar, the battery, and the load go in. Don't worry about the load because the inverter is actually handling the load. But you can see my solar panels are happy, or at least I hope you can see this. My solar panels are happy, my battery's happy, it's supplying power to the load. I have 11.7 volts. This charge controller comes with my Windy Nation 400 watt solar panel kit, and it will start to use the solar panels to charge the battery at approximately 10.6 volts. So there's that. We have our 4 batteries here. This wire, we got 8 feet of wire so that I could cut it, and we got these little battery ends to put on there. And so we wired our batteries in parallel. That's the best way to do it. To make space for the inverter at the bottom, I kind of flipped this battery around to the side here so that there'd be more space. I'm a little bit afraid of the inverter, kind of. I just don't want it to spark or touch the batteries or do anything like that. And so I'm going to go on the other side and talk to you a little bit more about how I hooked that up. Here on the other side of the battery box, you can see the battery connections coming off of the trailer, your positive and negative. So I kind of scienced this myself. So if anyone has any comments regarding this, definitely do post. This is just how I decided to do it. So you have all 4 batteries are wired in parallel. You can see the negative, negative, negative. So, and then on this side, positive, positive, and then positive. Remember, I had to flip this battery around the back side because I wanted to keep it away from this giant inverter. The inverter comes with its own cables. These cables are aught to 1 to aught, I think, size cables, if I had to take a guess. And then the cables that we have on our batteries are 8, and those are in gauge. And so I wired the inverter to the 3rd battery in our cycle. So it's over here wired in. And it's a 3,000 watt power converter, right? Then, to keep the DC power going to Tina, these very old cables are coming off the trailer again, and those are running to the 4th battery. So again, all the batteries are wired in parallel, but to avoid overloading one battery, I put the connections to the trailer on this battery. I put the connections to the inverter on this battery. And it makes sense that it wouldn't interrupt the connection because all the batteries are wired in parallel. So it's acting as one battery. Hopefully that makes sense to somebody. So you can see this is where the battery hookups are for the inverter. There's fans over here, very important. And also remember from a different video when I built this battery box, I created it so that it was, there's the fans coming on. I created it so that it was raised up, and that way it made sure that the air flows underneath. Now I'm going to go around to the other side of the inverter and talk a little bit about how I hooked it up to the trailer. Here we are on the outside of Tina, the left side, where our power outlet is to plug into an RV camp. So this is a big cable that you'd use if you were hooking into another service. So I have this cable running out. It's a very long cable. I'm going to use those cord, I guess cable ties that I have to kind of get them tucked up and out of the way, and also not in the way of the wheel well. But you can see this cord runs underneath the battery box, comes up in here. I had to buy a little adapter. So this has a very strange prong shape. If you've ever seen the way an RV prong, it's kind of shaped very wide and spaced out like that, whereas your normal outlets prongs are kind of like this. And so this little connector makes it available so that this plug can plug into this, which has 4 outlets on the side. You can see right there, those are your normal size outlets. It also has USB connections and everything. There's the power switch over there on the side. You can see the green light is on, so that means that it is receiving power from the batteries. And then that little meter that's right there, the very tip of my finger, that shows you how much power it's using. Right now we have the TV on and the PlayStation 3 on. The microwave is running. So that only uses 2 bars, which is good. You want to use a variable inverter that only uses power as you turn something on. You don't want to use one that's constantly sucking power all the time. And then the reason why I kept this hooked up is because your lights and things that don't run on AC power necessarily, you know, will want the battery hookup. So when all else fails, the inverter is going to run my big appliances, and the battery is going to run the lights and furnace switch on and everything like that. So now I'm going to go inside the trailer and show you some key things with the fuse box and where the cord comes in from there. So inside the trailer we did a couple key things. So there's the outlet hole for that cord that I just showed you that runs to the battery box. I'm going to have to redo my installation from a different video now that we've decided that that's going to run through there. But the cable runs here to your fuse box and your power converter. Mine's under the dinette. There's a little turn screw thing here. You can just turn it with your hands, pull this down. This has all of your fuses in it. Each fuse is very well labeled. For these smaller fuses over here, there's a key down here at the bottom. So on this side, there is a fuse for the converter. And you can see that I have it switched off. And that's because the converter's main job is to convert power when you plug in and also charge your batteries. But since I have the solar panel charging my batteries and the electricity coming from my inverter, if I were to leave the converter switch on, it would be an endless cycle that very quickly drains my batteries, because it would be pulling power from the inverter, which is already using some power to be able to pull the power from the batteries. So it would use the batteries to pull the power through the inverter to put the energy back into the camper, which would run through this fuse and go back through our electrical system and charge our batteries, which would then feed back into the inverter. So you can see why I would shut that off. Now, even with that off, everything still works. So I went through and tested everything. The microwave is running. The ceiling lights, the incandescent and the LED lights all run. And sorry for the mess, we've been doing this all morning. Hi, babe.
Hello.
The PlayStation is what we have hooked up right now to our TV, and that's been running great, and it's been using minimal power. And so that's everything. So I'm going to go back out to the battery box and wrap this up.